maybe. Joy Division, any fans? Yay! Talking Heads. And I like electric music, Kraftwerk. Yellow, anyone heard Yellow? Yeah. So back then, trying to find music that you like, new music that you like, was very difficult. We did not have Google. Back then when I was in college, we did not have cell phones. The PC was not invented yet when I was in college. That kind of show you how old I am. There was no internet. There was no web. I mean, it must be shocking for a lot of the younger audience. World about web or cell phone. Now, it's, without those, and of course, there's no Spotify, no iTunes or YouTube. So finding music that you like was incredibly difficult. But it's even more difficult for young artists to be discovered. A young artist to be heard, you need to find an agent, who then would need to find a label to manufacture your song, and they would find distributors, and they would have to convince radio stations to play your song. So the gap between the listener and the artist was large. This supply chain or value chain involves a lot of people, a lot of organizations. So what internet and technology has changed is that it has taken this huge, long, complex web of supply chain and collapsed it to nothing. Artists can directly produce and sell songs to listeners. Listeners can get songs precisely, the ones that they like, anytime, anywhere. So that's quite an amazing change. And well, we need AI for that. But that's a quick, that's a quick prequel to all my slides. So where's AI now? Okay. Well, I don't know. I've never seen that happen before. Okay, so with technology, humans have become incredibly impatient. We want everything now. We want everything, quickly. I mean, if you want to complain to a company on Twitter, you would expect the company to reply within what? A few weeks? No. You want them to reply within a minute or maybe second. Now, when I was young, if I have to complain, like I'm not happy with my toast that I just bought, I have to take out a piece of paper and a pen, sit down and write a letter, fold it up in an envelope, put a stamp, send it, and maybe a few weeks later, if lucky, I might get a reply back from the manufacturer. And by then I already forgotten why I was mad in the first place. Now, this need for now is not just music. Also, besides wanting things now, we want it our way. We want it to be highly personalized. This is an actual photo of a Starbucks order. So it says, heavy cream, half soil, lactose milk, 0.14 with cream. I don't know what that means. Name the club, etc., etc., etc. How many of you have longer orders? This is incredible. This is real. This is an actual photo taken by a barista in Starbucks. So we want not only things our way, we want things immediately. And I think that AI, in that sense, is actually providing knowledge in the way we want it. We want it now. We want it our way. AI is, in a way, collapsing the supply chain or value chain for knowledge, professional knowledge. For example, if you need specialized healthcare, what would you do? You would probably go and see a general practitioner who, you have to make an appointment, see them. And if needed, you might schedule some lab tests. Based on the result of the lab tests, he may recommend you to see a specialist, and make an appointment, and you go see, and et cetera, et cetera. So the value chain or supply chain for healthcare is amazingly long and complex, involving many different organizations as well as an insurance company. There are health tech companies who's working with, using AI to collapsing that so that you can get healthcare immediately, anytime, anywhere. And what they're doing is that they're using AI, machine learning, big data, genomics to provide 24 monitoring of your healthcare through devices like wearables and so forth. It's also happening in other industries like fintech, where AI is being used to provide you with 20 by 4 portfolio management as well as advice. So AI, in a sense, just like music, is collapsing that value chain so that consumers and knowledge are accessible anytime, anywhere, and personalized. Now, if AI is going to take care of our health and our wealth, can we trust AI? Now, if I ask you, can we trust AI, what would you think of? Would be your concerns? I see some heads shaking, no. So one of your concerns maybe is AI really qualified to provide us with professional advice? AI is qualified, and AI is a computer. AI is qualified in one sense because it has access to all the online data available to it. For healthcare data, currently there's 150 exabytes of healthcare data. To put that in context, 1 exabyte can fill DVDs from here to Mars. Multiply that by 150 times. Human doctors will not be able to comprehend that, no way. IBM has an AI program called Watson that is used to process healthcare information. It can read 200 million pages of text in 3 seconds. Humans could barely read the first sentence in 3 seconds. So in a sense, AI is qualified that it has access to a vast amount of data and knowledge. But the question is, how do we measure that qualification? And can it really apply that knowledge? A researcher, Noriko in Japan, has been investigating that. If AI is smart, could it pass the university entrance exam? So she wrote an AI program that did better than 80% of all students who are sitting in for the University of Tokyo entrance exam. And with that result, this AI program can be admitted to most of the prestigious private schools in Japan. However, with 80%, it's still not good enough for University of Tokyo. There's another program, just recently, last month, there's a program from China called Xiaoyi, which passed the National Medical Licensing Exam, which means it's qualified to go to the next step of being a real doctor. I think the real test will be, can it pass the practical exam? So we'll have to wait and see. So in a way, AI has, people has already been investing in that area. How do we measure qualification? Another concern is that is AI's knowledge too brittle, or would it break easily? What that means is that AI is super smart in one area, but once it steps outside its area of expertise, its behavior is unpredictable. So that's what we call too brittle. We all know that for chess, humans does not play chess better than AI plays chess much better than humans. Since 1997, IBM's Deep Blue program won against Kasparov. It's been 20 years, okay? Now, this is a super smart, intelligent AI program. Now, if we would give it a different, slightly modified chessboard, what would happen? It would totally not work. This is what we mean by knowledge is brittle. Now, for a human, the first time you see this board, you would still be able to play the game. For AI, would not be able to play the game. However, that might change because just 2 days ago, Google announced Alpha Zero. It's a program that learns how to play chess better than any online program in the world in just 4 hours, using reinforcement learning. And what that means is that it doesn't need human being. It doesn't need to learn from humans. It learns by itself in 4 hours. So even though AI might not be able to play the game in the first step, it will be able, if you give a few hours, you'll be able to play better than anyone in the world. For a human, we would need a lifetime to get that achievement. Here's a more example of brilliance. Self-driving cars. If we take a self-driving car to Melbourne, Australia, where you have a hope turn, how many of you have been there with the hope turn? When you turn right, you stay on the left. So that confuses everybody, okay? So I'm sure that's going to confuse a self-driving car. How about the magic roundabout in Swindon, England? You've probably seen that. There's two circles of roundabout, cars moving in different ways. Okay, I'm sure if any self-driving car, Tesla, you put it in that environment, it's not going to be able to perform. So I think for any self-driving cars, you would need to at least pass those tests before. Okay. Now this brings up a new area of research called artificial general intelligence, where people are endowing AI with common sense, so that general principles, so that they can solve problems in general. Another question that people ask is, AI doesn't have moral ethical standards. I mean, for us to trust AI, shouldn't it have some sort of moral ethical standards or similar religious belief as we do? I think Asimov in 1940 created this 3 laws of robotics, which is some sort of moral standard code for robots. And so the first thing is, robots cannot kill people. Second is robots should follow humans' order unless it violates rule 1. And then rule 3 is robots must protect its own self as long as it does not conflict with the first 2 laws. But scientists with self-driving cars, scientists have found that these 3 rules may not be practical or adequate. For example, if you have a self-driving car and you suddenly see a group of people or one person and you cannot brake fast enough, should the car, either the first one is either hit one person and avoid the group, or should the car kill the driver avoiding the pedestrian, or likewise. There's so many scenarios. Okay. So on one hand, we demand AI to have very high moral and ethical standards, and yet, if the self-driving car is programmed to have such high moral standards, would you want to drive it? Or would you want to buy a car that will protect the driver, whatever, whenever? But that's the question to think about. Some of the problems that I just mentioned can be solved by technology or how we use AI. But I think the real question is, can AI trust us? Okay, and what does that mean? Because humans makes lots of mistakes, and humans are now creating AI. And what kind of mistakes? Well, look at the source code. I mean, average app is like 40,000 lines of code. Facebook is 61 million lines of code. Google is 2 billion lines of code. However, on average, we create 15 to 50 bugs per 1,000 lines of code. So according to that standard, Google's program would have 30 million bugs. Of course, we do testing. That takes out 50% of the bugs, so still another 50 million. Now that means there's a lot of vulnerability that hackers can take advantage of. In fact, 10,000 vulnerabilities each year. And that leads to a lot of data breaches. A few years ago, Yahoo leaked 3 billion. So, so with all those mistakes that we made, could we trust humans to create AI? Would there be bugs in our AI program? Another problem is humans lie. What do we lie? Well, we create fake news, the real fake news, not the fake news. For example, Russian interference with US and Brexit election results. Now, AI learns, and AI learns by reading and reads social media feeds. If there's fake news, it's going to get confused. Just another example is that a few years ago, hackers hacked Associated Press news feed and says that there was an explosion in White House and Obama was injured. And that led to a $136 billion drop in the US stock market within a few seconds. Why within a few seconds? Because those algorithms are controlled by AI and reacts instantly to any news. So if humans lie and there's fake news, how is AI to react? Worse is that newspapers are using AI to write articles nowadays. You might not be aware, but Washington Post published 850 articles in the past year using AI, automated AI, do sports and election polls. And they get data and information from external parties. So if those data are compromised, then the news produced by these robot reporters is going to be compromised. Humans are not good role models. Not everyone. For example, Twitter, Microsoft had an AI chatbot called Hey. It was, I think, last year or yes, last year. And it released it to Twitter, and it tried to learn to talk to human beings by conversation over Twitter. Within 1 day, it turned a very friendly, chill robot to a highly racist person, very angry, very bitter. Okay, humans are not good role models sometimes. Humans are not really that smart. If we use AI to design things, it would look very alien because it's just too good. Humans are not able to comprehend. Designs like, for the previous example, those three objects, the first one's human, the last one is AI. They both, all of them support the same structural load. And yet the small one is more efficient, more effective, designed by AI. And this is a car frame designed by AI that's highly efficient, better than any human beings. If humans are not able to understand these alien-looking devices that AI designed, will we use it? And that's why there's a new field called explainable AI, XAI, trying to come up with results that humans are able to understand. In fact, European Union has a law that is going to effect in next year. It's called GDPR, a General Data Protection Regulation, that requires any decision made by a computer, including AI, has to be explainable to a human being. Okay, so I think the question is not whether we can trust AI, but whether AI can trust us. I mean, AI is now in its infancy, maybe teenager now, I don't know. But as a parent to a child, I think we need to be better human beings, nurturing them, making sure that they learn the right thing, follow the right role model. And sometimes, like parents and teenagers, we might not understand them, but give it time to mature. There's a saying, be the person your dog thinks you are. Dog thinks you're a kind, good person. I came up with a new one. Be the person your AI thinks you are. We have to be better human beings for AI to learn. Thank you so much.